William Nylander has broken the silence regarding his absence this playoff run, and he spoke out not necessarily on what the injury is, but how he's been handling missing all this time for the Toronto Maple Leafs. I'm going to break that down in this episode of Leafs Digest, as well as an announcer. He called out the Leafs home crowd. Stay tuned for all that and coming up next. Before we do, a quick reminder, hit the subscribe button. About 78% of you who are watching are not subscribed. If you haven't hit the button already, we're on the road to 8,000. Make sure to do that, and it means the world to us. Now, Darius, let's not waste any more time. Nylander speaks out on missing the playoffs, and obviously he's missed the entirety of the 3 games so far, and today was the first day he spoke to the media, and he didn't really reveal any more information. Elliot Friedman did that yesterday regarding the migraines, but he did say some things, and let's start with this. William Nylander speaking to the media today following the practice, asked what his biggest challenge for him will be if he's back tomorrow. Quote, nothing. Why is that? Because I've been skating and everything. That's a very William Nylander quote, which is true. He has been skating around. Really, the biggest challenge for him will be his migraines, but he hasn't said explicitly that it is the migraines. And he had some more things to say. So the games are crazy to watch from home. I've never been so nervous in my life, but I think the guys are doing a great job, and tomorrow is a big game. Is he playing? I don't know. We'll see. There's some more to go over, but Darius, what are your thoughts on these so far? He's going to be very secretive in these interviews, as you'll find out as you watch this video, but it's good that he's at least in decent spirits, and this is the first time he's speaking out, so maybe that makes his return tomorrow, like we mentioned in earlier's video today, more likely.
Yeah, we got some cryptic code going on from both Keefe and Nylander. I guess we won't find out for sure until tomorrow, but I love that quote from Nylander. That is some rock star stuff right there. He is ready to go, and mentally he's engaged, and he always has been for the Leafs. He's their best playoff performer, like by far, since this era has begun, and there is no challenge for him. There's nothing holding him back besides the migraines. Once he's ready to go, he's going to be in there and he's going to be ready to go, and I'm excited to watch him play again. So that's going to be great if he does get into the lineup as soon as game 4. But yeah, I love the confidence. Like, why? What else is he supposed to say? Oh no, I'm not sure how I'm going to fit into the lineup, stuff like that. No, he's ready to rock and roll, and I love it from Nylander. So love the confidence, love everything about that quote, and hopefully he can get in, right? It's just a matter of will it subside or whatever he's dealing with, because he hasn't explicitly said what he's dealing with. More of a personal issue, he said. But yeah, hopefully he can get back in the lineup and we watch him play finally.
Yeah, and it's obviously not a physical injury in the sense of a hurt leg or hurt anything like that, which would indicate that he might be, 75%. But like when he comes back, his abilities will be there. He's not going to be hampered by any injury. It's just going to be his migraines, which is assuming that's what it is, according to Elliot Friedman. He has some more things to say. They asked him what kept him out of the series so far, and he said, look, that's just personal, so I'm not going to get into any of that. But anything else you guys want to discuss, he's open for. And this is what's interesting to me. I'm not quite sure why it's so secretive that he has migraines. Maybe he just doesn't want it to get out, and that's why Keefe hasn't talked about it. Elliot Friedman had no problem leaking it, which some people were upset about. But like, I feel like at this point of the year, it's kind of not that this should come out, because their health can be private. I feel like when you're a professional athlete, like these things are naturally going to be coming out. But I don't know, it's a little bit interesting, but he's not going to reveal it himself. But again, we do know it's a migraine. We do know it's a head injury from everything that's been said. Do you have any thoughts on that part of it, about why they're still keeping it so secret, and why Nylander does not want to get into it?
Well, like I alluded to yesterday, Jeff Merrick, just the wording he used on his podcast maybe lends to the fact that he's dealing with not only this, but maybe a few other things. But again, I'm just speculating that, so I wouldn't look too much into that. But it's possible at this time of year, right? But maybe he just doesn't want to come out and say that's exactly what he's dealing with, or maybe it's just a little bit more complicated even than we know, right? Or maybe it is concussion related, and I don't know. There's just a lot going on, and honestly, it's a big distraction. Why does he have to come out and say exactly what it is? We know from Elliot Friedman that this is probably what it is, and I'm sure he just wants to talk about the game and what's going on in the ice. And this is the first time he's in front of the media in over a week, I think, since at least game 82 or 81. So let's just talk about hockey and how he can make a difference on the ice, right? The fact that it looks like he's coming back and he will be back, it looks like this might be behind him. So why still put it out there at the forefront? I guess it makes sense until he returns officially, but I think he's over it, and he probably doesn't want to talk about it. I'm sure he's frustrated about the fact that he can't play, because if it's not a physical injury, like we said, if it is migraines, that has got to be really frustrating, because if he was 100% and they weren't bothering him, he'd be playing at 100%. So that's got to be really frustrating.
Yeah, and obviously he says he doesn't know if he's going to play, but I think he will ultimately. And Sheldon Keefe spoke out on it. He said, Keefe regarding Nylander, quote, looks ready to me on the ice. In terms of his status, we'll have to determine that tomorrow. And like we discussed in earlier videos today, it's because, again, it's a migraine thing. If he's not feeling good tomorrow, he could wake up and feel great now and then wake up tomorrow, have a bad migraine. It could be great, and then 30 minutes before puck drop, his headache could come back, which is maybe what even happened last game, depending and assuming that's what it is. So there's just a lot of ifs and ands regarding William Nylander and his actual return, which is why I'm not going to say he's going to return until he actually does tomorrow, hopefully in practice when he skates on the ice with the starters and all that. Any final thoughts on this Nylander situation? This might be the last time that, obviously we'll have videos about it, especially if he returns, but I think it might be coming to a close regarding William Nylander and playing, because once he's back on the ice, the Leafs have a big job to do. It's no longer a distraction, and they have to take care of business very, very fast, because if they don't, a 3-1 deficit is really a big chokehold on them.
Well, it's been a fun little journey to follow the story, at least, and everyone's excited about the chase and figuring out what was wrong with him. But I hope this is the last time we have to talk about it and he plays tomorrow, because that'd be great for the Leafs. So let's hope that that's the case and that he does play tomorrow. But just a tricky situation, like I said in a previous video we did. If you've ever dealt with migraines, or if you know somebody who deals with migraines, like, this is a fluid situation. Like, we're not going to know if he's playing until the warm-up tomorrow night. So we'll just have to wait and see. Hopefully he plays. Yeah, hopefully he does play. Let us know your thoughts on what's been like a week's worth of going back and forth. It's like a circus a little bit. But let's touch on this. Speaking of circus, announcer calls out the Leafs, and this one's very interesting. Yeah, it's very weird that he did this. This is from Jim Bowen. He said, the idea of going to any sporting event to support the home team is to be proactive, give the team energy when they need it, not sitting down waiting to be reactive. The players can't say it, but I will. Tonight's crowd was very disappointing. Now, this tweet generated a lot of reactions, almost 1 million views. The players did come out and say that they felt the crowd was good and that they couldn't even hear the lines being called out by Keefe at times. What are your thoughts on this? Obviously, neither of us were at the game. It didn't seem necessarily quiet. I wouldn't say that they're the most engaged, but to be fair, when you're 0 for 5 in the power play, you're not scoring many goals, your team, is not playing great, especially offensively. There's not many fan bases around hockey that will still be loud throughout the entire game, but I understand the premise of what Joe Bowen is saying. He's been around the game a very long time, so I'm sure he wanted the Leafs fans to be loud, but I don't know if putting the blame on the Leafs fans is necessarily the way to go here. No, but although I do think two things can be true at the same time, right? I think there is some blame to be had. Not blame, but like the Leafs have cultivated this culture of like a corporate setting at games. That's just the way it is, right? So there's the suits, right? And the prices and all this stuff. So the real quote unquote fans don't really go to the games, right? Or can't really afford to go to the games. So at times there are like lulls in the game. And yes, it was loud. I thought that the first period, the fans actually really brought it. There was chants. There was Swayman chants. There was a bunch of stuff going on, and they were loud. I thought for sure, yeah. But then there's lulls in the game, right, where I do feel Joe is right, where Leaf fans are not proactive. They're very reactive, where if the Leafs score, yes, then they're loud and they'll follow it up with a couple minutes, but they don't get the Leafs into the game. If you watch Leaf games from the past, the crowd is always trying to get the team into the game, but the culture has kind of shifted at games, right? Like I just mentioned, suits and all that stuff, right? So you have cultivated that a little bit, but again, I don't think blaming the fans is exactly the way to go. I don't know if that's why the Leafs weren't in that game. There was a lot of moving pieces, right? So I think two things can be true at the same time, but notoriously, I think Leaf fans, and listen, like the product isn't good and we're being fed the same thing over and over again, year after year. And I think when certain things happen in a game where you're like, I've seen this before, the fans kind of sit on their hands and they're like, worst case scenario, and get pessimistic, right? So, if the product was a little bit better, or you could put a little bit more hope behind it and be proactive, I think things would be a little bit different. But two things can be true at the same time. I think there's two factors there. So that's just my take on it.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. Yeah, the big thing there is that it's going to be hard for the fans to get into it when it's been the same story for the past however many years with the playoffs. Definition of insanity. We've been through that before. Same thing over and over again. I'm sure Leafs fans feel that way when they see the same kind of burnout every year, besides last year, which was a burnout, but a slightly less of a burnout one. Yeah, and one quick quote I missed regarding Nylander here. He did say, regarding the stress of not playing, it is what it is. There's nothing to stress about. Can't force yourself back in the game, so be ready when I'm ready. That's one thing to note as well. Just want to throw that in there. But that'll wrap it up. Let us know what your thoughts are on all this. They do play tomorrow. It's going to be a bit of an interesting game, and we'll have a video for you tomorrow before the game and potentially something after. So thank you guys for watching. See you tomorrow.